This is the AI briefing from Bosio.digital. Today, four completely different things get called an AI operating system, and only one of them is something your company will ever actually run on. Let's start with the confusion because it is not your fault. Type AI operating system into a search engine, and you get four different products on one page. The first is a literal computer operating system with a model built into it. That is the Windows question. Does the desktop get rebuilt around AI? The second is a data infrastructure platform. Storage, pipelines, moving enormous amounts of information to enormous amounts of compute. The third is an orchestration framework for developers who are building agents and need somewhere to run them. And the fourth one, the only one an executive is actually asking about, sits near the bottom of that page. When we looked in August, it was in position 20, and it was about 600 words of vendor copy. 1,300 people a month search that phrase. Most of them want one of the first three, but a growing number are asking the fourth question, and the fourth question has almost no honest answer anywhere. So that is what today is. Here is why it matters in one number. RSM surveyed just over 1,000 mid-market executives this July. 86% said AI is integrated into their operations. Only 36% said it is embedded across their core processes. Almost everybody has AI. About a third are running on it. That gap is the difference between owning tools and running a system, and closing it is the whole subject. Now, one thing worth saying before the definition. The best attempt at sorting this out that we found comes from a developer tools company, and it is genuinely good. It splits AI operating systems into three categories: infrastructure, agent orchestration, and specialized systems. All three are things engineers install. None of them is a thing a company runs on. The business meaning is missing entirely, and that is the gap we are filling. So, what is the fourth thing? An AI operating system is the layer that sits between your business and whatever models you happen to be using. It holds three things: what the company knows, how the company works, and who decides what. Every team's AI works from it. When somebody corrects it, the correction lands in the layer, not in a chat window that gets closed, and it outlives the model you are on, the vendor you buy from, and the people who wrote it. The phrase earns its name for one reason. An operating system is the thing that other things run on. Nobody uses it directly. The test of a good one is that everything running on top of it behaves consistently, without each program reinventing the basics. That is exactly the relationship between this layer and the AI your teams touch every day. Which means the opposite of an AI operating system is not no AI. The opposite is what most companies have right now. 11 subscriptions, 4 teams, and no shared memory. Every conversation starts from zero. Every good result is a personal achievement that walks out of the door when the person does. Now the part that makes this usable. There are 5 stages and the order is load-bearing. Each one assumes the one before it. Skipping ahead is the single most common way this goes wrong, and it is why so many agent projects stall at the demo. 1. Context. What the AI knows about your business before anybody types a request. 5 things a model cannot work out on its own. How you sound. What things cost and who can approve an exception. What never leaves the room. What finished work looks like. And a short orientation file on what you actually do. These are not derivable. A model can infer a great deal, but it cannot infer your discount floor. It will guess confidently, and the guess will be wrong in a way that produces no error message. You know this stage worked when you open a fresh session with no setup, ask for something typical, and the answer sounds like you rather than like your whole industry. 2. The work. What the system actually runs. This is where most companies go wrong, and they go wrong expensively. They buy agents. The instinct makes sense because an agent is a thing you can point at. But an agent without stage 1 is a very fast employee with amnesia, and 25 of them is not an operating system. It is sprawl, and it makes a business measurably less intelligent. What you want instead is encoded procedures, a written-down way of doing one job that any capable model can pick up and follow. Portable, editable and fixable by the people who own the work. Start with the job that is repeated most often and done least consistently. Not the most impressive one, the most repeated one. And the shift your team has to make here is not learning to prompt. It is learning to define what good looks like, and then checking against it. Prompting is a personal trick that leaves with the person. A defined standard is an asset that stays. 3. The gate, where a human decides. Stage 2 makes the system capable. Stage 3 is what makes it safe to let it be capable. And it usually gets built the week after something goes wrong. The whole stage is one written answer, per category of work. Who decides? 3 tiers is normally enough. The system may act alone. A named person must approve, or nobody may commit without an executive. Here's the part people get wrong. A policy that sits in a document is advice. What you need is a gate, an actual point in the workflow where the thing stops until a person acts. If your constraint is a sentence in a policy rather than a step in the process, it is decoration. And ownership splits 3 ways here. An executive owns the why, IT owns the rails, and a named person per area owns the standard for that area's work. Nobody owns all 3. Pretending one person does is how this stalls. 4. The loop. How it gets better. Everything up to here gives you a system that is as good as the day you built it, and then slowly worse. One rule fixes that, and it has no exceptions. Corrections go back into the layer, not just into the chat. When somebody fixes an output, the fix has to land somewhere it will apply next time. Then a standing review, monthly at first, asking one question. What did we correct this month that we are going to have to correct again? Whatever answers that question is your cue. Somebody approves what should become permanent and rejects what was a one-off. That approval step is not bureaucracy. Systems that apply every correction automatically drift because not every correction is a rule. This stage fails quietly, which is the dangerous part. Nothing breaks. The system just stops improving, and 6 months later it is a beautiful, comprehensive, out-of-date thing that people have stopped trusting and started working around. And 5. The proof. How you know. This is the stage that gets skipped by everybody who is enjoying themselves. It is also the reason good AI programs get canceled by people who were never shown a number. Pick a small number of measures and agree them before the build rather than assembling them afterwards to justify it. 3 is usually right. And match the measure to the stage you are at. Asking for enterprise margin impact from a context layer that launched 6 weeks ago is not rigor. It is a category error, and it kills good work early. Early on, measure time recovered on the specific jobs you encoded. Then adoption depth, meaning how many people use it for real work, rather than how many have logins. A license is not adoption. Margin comes later than most executives want. You know the stage worked when you can answer, "What did this return?" in one sentence, with a number in it, to somebody who was not involved. Now, what changes with size? The 5 stages do not change. This surprises people, so it is worth being precise. A consultant working alone needs the same 5 stages as a 300-person firm. The AI still has to know how they sound and what they charge. It still has to run repeatable jobs repeatably, still has to stop before certain decisions, still has to absorb corrections, still has to prove it returned something. What changes is not the stages. It is how many people have to agree on them. When it is just you up to about 25 people, this is an extraction problem. The knowledge is in one head and needs to get onto a page. The whole job is to make it exist. Elegance is the enemy because elegance is the excuse people use to wait. Somewhere around 25, it becomes an arbitration problem, and this is where projects stall in a way solo ones never do. The knowledge is in several heads. Those heads disagree, and writing it down forces somebody to decide who is right. Sales thinks the discount floor is one number. Finance thinks it is another. Nobody has been wrong until now because nobody had to write it in a file that a machine would then apply 1,000 times. Past 100 people, it becomes an authorization problem. Access stops being advisory and has to be structural. Freshness stops being a habit and becomes a rule with dates on it. Which is why the tier language most vendors use is unhelpful. A solo professional is not the beginner version of an enterprise. They are the clean case. The same 5 stages with the agreement problem removed. And a 200-person firm is not doing something more advanced. It is doing the same 5 things while negotiating. We run one of these ourselves, and the honest report is more useful than a polished one. An audit of our own system in July found roughly 1,500 lines loading into every session regardless of relevance. 2 overlapping memory systems that had grown up beside each other. And 2 separate logs, each over 1,000 lines. None of that was designed. It accumulated the way things accumulate when a system is used daily and pruned rarely. We fixed some of it and kept some of it deliberately. The money rules and the confidentiality boundaries we left verbose on purpose, because those are the places where being terse is expensive. The point of saying that out loud is that the result is not tidy. It is operated. And the difference between a system that works and one that does not is much less about elegance. It is about whether somebody owns each part and looks at it on a schedule. So where does outside help fit? Most of this is genuinely self-serve, and you should not hire anybody for the part you can do in an afternoon. If a firm's first proposal is a discovery phase before you have written anything down, you are paying somebody to watch you not start. 3 things are harder from the inside. Arbitration is political. Deciding whose version of the discount floor is canonical means telling somebody they have been doing it wrong. That conversation goes better when the person asking has no stake in the answer. Pattern recognition takes repetition. Knowing which stage rots first is a judgment that improves with having watched it fail elsewhere. And the cadence is what decays. Most firms can design the loop. Few sustain it unaided through the first 2 quarters. PAX 8 surveyed 400 small business leaders in March, and 84% said they would trust an outside technology advisor to help them implement AI. If you do bring somebody in, apply 1 test to us or to anyone else. Ask what you own at the end. If the answer is a set of files and procedures your team can open, edit, and operate without the firm that built them, that is architecture work. If the answer is a dependency, you have bought a subscription to your own knowledge. So here is your Monday. Not agents, not a platform evaluation, not a discovery phase. Make a folder. Write the 5 context files and write them by contrast. 5 things you would never say. The number below which you walk away. The specific information that must never cross a specific wall. 90 minutes gets you a first pass that is bad and real, which is the correct kind. Then pick 1 job, the most repeated one. Write down what finished looks like for it, in enough detail that somebody else applying your standard would reach your verdict. Run it twice with 2 different people, and compare. Then write the gate for that 1 job before you widen it. What the system may do alone. What needs your name? What needs an executive? 1 job, 3 lines. And then make the loop real by doing the unglamorous thing exactly once. The next time you correct an output, put the correction in the file instead of only in the chat. That single move is the entire discipline of Stage 4, and it is the one people skip because it takes 90 extra seconds at the exact moment they want to be finished. That was this week's briefing, what an AI operating system actually is, and the 5 stages that build one. The full article is on the site. Every source, each stage linked to the deeper piece behind it, and a prompt that maps your own business against the 5. This has been the AI briefing from Bosio.digital, where AI transformation starts with your people. Thanks for listening.